back in 2003, I'd left the Baker Demonstration School. I was the associate dean at the time to stay home with my son, who then went to kindergarten at the Oak Park Public Schools, and my daughter had gone through a lot of the Oak Park schools. My son was a different learner, and I realized that there weren't as many options as I wanted for him and other children like him. And I had this passion and history of progressive education. So I recognized that you had Baker Demonstration School north of the city, you had Francis Parker School in the city, and you had University of Chicago School south of the city. So along the coast was this real opportunity for people to tap into progressive education, but nothing to the west. And so I had the good fortune to have a partner who supported me and said, if you can't do it, no one can, so go for it. So I decided, let's start a school, which I knew nothing about. I really did an analysis of what was the need. And I had a wonderful group of parents who really were able to step in and say, we are seeking something other than the typical educational environment. The Oak Park schools were wonderful. There were other local public schools. I never wanted to say that any other environment was not appropriate, but I wanted to provide an opportunity where children could learn by doing. I felt there was a lot of pressure at the time for standardized testing, for really advancing children in kindergarten and first grade far beyond what they really should be doing developmentally. And progressive education honors the whole child. The belief that a child is not something only limited to academic success, but social, emotional, as well as academic. And progressive education embraces that in a very large way. So I put out these little brochures off of my computer and printed them out and put them into the Buzz Cafe and all these places that I thought there may be people who would be interested in something other than. And I had 13 marvelous families step up and say, we would like to try this challenge. And it was a really, the first 2 years we were in Gale House, a small little house next to Frank Lloyd Wright's Unitarian Temple, and I think those were the most charming years of my life in the sense that we had 13 and then 19 families the second year, and it just so happens kindergarten, half of them, first grade, half of them, half girls, half boys. So it worked out beautifully. But that was when we collectively had to, as a community, make determinations about what do we want for children. And we really, the parents were very involved. I had a parent with me every day. And we really put together what I think was an environment of inquiry, of critical thinking, of exploration, of hands-on learning, that these children were given the opportunity to explore, learn, grow without the pressures of you must be reading by the end of kindergarten, you must have a standardized test score by the end of second grade, you must be writing 5-paragraph essays by the end of third grade. The must were taken away, I think, and it was, what can you do? What are the possibilities? What are the dreams? What are your interests? What are your hopes? And some people think, a kindergartner, a first grader, how can you tap into that? Well, in actuality, you know, when a kindergartner walks into a classroom and that morning they bring in a butterfly and they have it in a little jar or whatever it may be, and the other children start asking about that butterfly, you all of a sudden have a captive audience around teaching and learning based on their curiosity and their interest. And amazingly, out of that butterfly coming into a classroom, you may have a unit of study that includes math and science and social studies that may go for several weeks. So that's where progressive education came to be in Oak Park through the children's school and through a need on my part personally to bring a new environment for my son and the recognition that other children like him were not necessarily aligned to the traditional receptive listening learning environment that some children do very well in, but I wanted to offer the progressive children's school environment.